Leadership Law Number 12, the Law of Empowerment. Only secure leaders give power to others. Nearly everyone has heard of Henry Ford, the revolutionary automobile industry innovator and legend in American business history. In 1903, he co-founded the Ford Motor Company with the belief that the future of the automobile lay in putting it within the reach of the average American worker. Ford said, "I will build a motor car for the multitude. It will be large enough for the family, but small enough for the individual to run and care for. It will be constructed of the best materials by the best men to be hired, after the simplest designs that modern engineering can devise. But it will be so low in price that no man making a good salary will be unable to own one and enjoy with his family the blessings of hours of pleasure in God's great open spaces." Henry Ford carried out that vision with the Model T, and it changed the face of 20th century American life. By 1914, Ford was producing nearly 50% of all the automobiles in the United States. The Ford Motor Company looked like an American success story. However, all of Ford's story is not about positive achievement, and one reason is that he didn't embrace the law of empowerment. He held on to power instead of empowering others. Ford was so in love with his Model T that he never wanted to change or improve it, nor did he want anyone else to tinker with it. One day, when a group of his designers surprised him by presenting him with a prototype of an improved model, Ford furiously ripped its doors off of the hinges and proceeded to destroy the car with his bare hands. For almost 20 years, the Ford Motor Company offered only one design, the Model T, which Henry Ford had personally developed. It wasn't until 1927 that he finally, grudgingly, agreed to offer a new car to the public. The company finally produced the Model A, but it was incredibly far behind its competitors in technical innovations. Despite its early head start and the incredible lead over its competitors, the Ford Motor Company's market share kept shrinking. By 1931, it was down to only 28%, a little more than half of what it had produced 17 years earlier. Henry Ford was the antithesis of an empowering leader. He continually undermined his leaders and looked over the shoulders of the people to control them. He even created a sociological department within Ford Motor Company to check up on his employees and direct their private lives. Perhaps Ford's most peculiar dealings were with his executives, especially his son Edsel. The younger Ford had worked at the company since he was a boy. As Henry became more eccentric, Edsel worked harder to keep the company going. If it weren't for Edsel, the Ford Motor Company probably would have gone out of business in the 1930s. Henry eventually gave Edsel the presidency of the company, but at the same time, he undermined him. Whenever any promising leader was rising up in the company, Henry tore him down, causing the company to lose its best executives. The few who stayed did so because they hoped to see Edsel finally take over and set things right. But Edsel died in 1943 at age 49. Edsel's oldest son, the 26-year-old Henry Ford II, left the Navy so that he could return to Dearborn, Michigan, and take over the company. At first, he faced opposition, but within 2 years, he gathered the support of several key people, received the backing of the board of directors. His mother controlled 41% of the Ford Motor Company's stock, and convinced his grandfather to step down so that he could become the president in his place. Young Henry was taking over a company that hadn't made a profit in 15 years and was losing $1 million a day. The young president knew that he was in over his head, so he brought in high-level leaders such as Colonel Charles Tex Thornton, who led a team at the War Department during World War II, and Ernie Breach, an experienced General Motors executive and the former president of Bendix Aviation. By 1949, Ford Motor Company was on a roll again. But there was too much of his grandfather in Henry Ford II. He felt threatened by these good leaders, so he pitted one executive against another. Anytime an executive gained power and influence, Henry undercut the person's authority by moving him to a position with less clout, supporting the executive's subordinates, or publicly humiliating him. This maneuver continued all the days Henry II was at Ford. As one time Ford President Lee Iacocca commented after leaving the company, Henry Ford, as I would learn firsthand, had a nasty habit of getting rid of strong leaders. Iacocca said Henry Ford II once described his leadership philosophy to him. If a guy works for you, don't let him get too comfortable. Don't let him get cozy or set in his ways. Always do the opposite of what he expects. Keep your people anxious and off balance. The leadership of both Henry Fords violated the law of empowerment. Rather than building leaders up, giving them resources, authority, and responsibility, and then empowering them to achieve, they often undermined their best people. Their insecurity made it impossible for them to give power to others. Ultimately, it diminished their personal leadership potential, created havoc in the lives of the people around them, and damaged their organization. If leaders want to be successful, they have to be willing to empower others. I like the way President Theodore Roosevelt stated it. The best executive is the one who has sense enough to pick good men to do what he wants done, and the self-restraint enough to keep from meddling with them while they do it. To lead others well, we must help them to reach their potential. That means being on their side, encouraging them, sharing the power we have with them, and helping them to succeed. That's not traditionally what we're taught about leadership. The two leadership games I was taught as a kid were King of the Hill and Follow the Leader. Now, what was the object of King of the Hill? To knock other people down so that you could be on top. And what was the point in Follow the Leader? To do things you knew followers couldn't do, to separate yourself from them and beat them. The problem with those games is that to win, you have to make everyone else lose. The games are based on insecurity and power, the opposite of the way to raise up leaders. I believe people have a natural desire to gain power and hold on to it. Some do it to enrich themselves. Others desire to control other people to get what they want from them. Some people tell themselves they want power so that they can do good, but the moment they manipulate others or justify bad behavior to hold on to power, they begin doing harm no matter how they justify it. Lord Acton stated, "Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." The recent Me Too and Black Lives Matter movements are reactions against powerful people using their power to harm others with less power. When I travel to developing countries, I am made especially aware of how alien the idea of empowerment can be to emerging leaders. In cultures where people need to fight to make something of themselves, the assumption is that they need to fight others to maintain their leadership. They put others down to lift themselves up. But that reflects a scarcity mindset. The truth is that if you give some of your power away to others, there's still plenty to go around. Pushing people down takes you down with them. Lifting others up lifts you. The best solution to avoiding the corrupting influence of the desire for power is to share whatever power you have with others. You can do that using a simple process of equipping that I have taught for years. When you equip those you lead to do something, you're not just stepping back and giving them freedom to succeed. You're giving them the means to succeed. You're sharing knowledge, skills, and permission for them to be more effective. And you're giving them the resources they need to be successful. So how do I equip people? Step 1, I do it. The process of empowerment starts with your power or ability to be productive. As I mentioned in the law of influence, having a title or position doesn't make you a leader. Being able to get along well with people, while essential to leadership, also doesn't make you a leader. What makes you a leader is being productive, being able to lead a team to accomplish something. That ability gives you credibility. You can't give what you don't have. Have you learned your craft and striven for excellence? Are you helping your team win? Are you leveraging your talents, skills, and abilities to achieve goals? If you are, you have the credibility of the I do it phase. You are becoming a leader worth emulating. If not, start by developing your credibility by being successful. Step 2, I do it and you are with me. The sharing process begins when you invite someone along and show them what you do and how to do it. This is where empowerment begins. When you show someone your mistakes instead of hoping they make the same ones, when you show them the secrets of your success instead of hiding them to keep your advantage, you've begun to share power with them. When I was in my 20s, after seeing an organization I had led go backwards after I left it, I started to figure out that instead of doing everything myself and being Mr. Answer Man, I needed to train others to do what I knew how to do. My great breakthrough came when I made it my practice to take someone I wanted to train with me every time I led something. By watching me, people learned to do what I could do. They got a feel for why I did it, and they learned the ropes. Step number 3, you do it, and I am with you. This is the pivot point in empowerment. When you ask people to do what you've demonstrated, you are helping them take a step in their development and in their ability. Notice that the leader doesn't send them off to do it. The leader accompanies them. Why? The first reason is to coach them. When you're with them, you can show them where they got off track. You can praise them for what they did well. You can encourage them when they're going through doubt. You can help them gain confidence. You can celebrate their success. The second reason is to hold them accountable. When you give power and responsibility to leaders, you want to make sure that they are using them well to accomplish the work and help other people. Step 4, you do it. This is the handoff of power. When the people you train and empower are capable of working on their own, you release them to succeed. This is where they have the opportunity to sharpen their abilities and skills and develop excellence. If you've done your job well enough and have the right mindset, your greatest hope shouldn't be for them to just be successful. It should be for them to be more successful than you. That's true empowerment. Step 5, you do it and someone else is with you. After step 4, it might sound like the job is done, but there's still one more important step. You need to encourage the people you equip to take others along so that they can be equipped too. This not only expands the effectiveness of the organization, but it also helps those you train to give their power away instead of hoarding it. Leading well is not about enriching yourself, it's about empowering others. Leadership analysts Lynn McFarland, Larry Sen, and John Childress affirm the empowerment leadership model shifts away from position power to people power, within which all people are given leadership roles so they can contribute to their fullest capacity. Only empowered people can reach their potential. When leaders can't or won't empower others, they create barriers within the organization that followers cannot overcome. If the barriers remain long enough, then the people give up and they stop trying, or they go to another organization where they can maximize their potential. If empowerment is so positive, then why don't more leaders do it? Many have never been taught how, but more often, when leaders fail to empower others, it's usually due to one of three reasons. The first barrier to empowerment is the desire for job security. The greatest enemy of empowerment is the fear of losing what we have. Many leaders worry that if they help subordinates, they themselves will become dispensable. But the truth is that the only way to make yourself indispensable is to raise up leaders. And if you're able to continually empower others and help them develop so that they can become capable of taking over your job, you'll become so valuable to the organization that you become indispensable. That's the paradox of the law of empowerment. What if I work myself out of a job by empowering others, you may ask, and my superiors don't recognize my contribution? That can happen in the short term. But if you keep raising up leaders and empowering them, you will develop a pattern of achievement, excellence, and leadership that will be recognized and rewarded. If the teams you lead always seem to succeed, people will figure out that you're leading them well. The second barrier to empowerment is resistance to change. Nobel Prize-winning author John Steinbeck asserted, "It is the nature of man as he grows older to protest against change, particularly change for the better." By its very nature, empowerment brings constant change because it encourages people to grow and innovate. Change is the price of progress. That is not always easy to live with. Most people don't like change, yet one of the most important responsibilities of leaders is to continually improve their organizations. As a leader, you must train yourself to embrace change, to desire it, to make a way for it. Effective leaders are not only willing to change, they become change agents. The third barrier to empowerment is the lack of self-worth. Murphy's 12th law states, "You can't lead a cavalry charge if you think you look funny on a horse." Self-conscious people are rarely good leaders. They focus on themselves, worrying how they look and what others think and whether they are liked. They can't give power to others because they feel that they have no power themselves, and you can't give what you don't have. Only secure leaders are able to give themselves away. Mark Twain once remarked that great things happen when you don't care who gets the credit. But I believe you can take that a step farther. I believe the greatest things happen only when you give others the credit. One-time vice presidential candidate, Admiral James B. Stockdale, declared, "What we need for leaders are men and women of heart who are so helpful that they, in effect, do away with the need of their jobs. But leaders like that are never out of a job, never out of followers." Strange as it sounds, great leaders gain authority by giving it away. If you aspire to be a great leader, you must live by the law of empowerment. One of the greatest leaders of the United States was known for his humility and willingness to give his power and authority to others. President Abraham Lincoln. The depth of his security as a leader can be seen in the selection of his cabinet. Most presidents pick like-minded allies, but not Lincoln. At a time of turmoil for the country when factions were strong, Lincoln brought together a group of leaders who would bring strength through diversity and mutual challenge. One Lincoln biographer said this of his method: "For a president to select a political rival for a cabinet post was not unprecedented, but deliberately to surround himself with all of his disappointed antagonists seemed to be courting disaster. It was a mark of his sincere intentions that Lincoln wanted the advice of men as strong as himself or stronger, that he entertained no fear of being crushed or overridden by such men revealed either surpassing naivete or a tranquil confidence in his powers of leadership. Lincoln's desire to unify the country was more important than his personal comfort. His strength and self-confidence allowed him to practice the law of empowerment and bring strong leaders into his circle. Perhaps the greatest example of Lincoln's desire to empower his leaders could be seen in how he treated his generals during the war. For example, in June 1863, when Lincoln put command of the Army of the Potomac into the hands of General George G. Meade, Lincoln sent him a message. Considering the circumstances, no one ever received a more important command, and I cannot doubt that you will fully justify the confidence which the government has reposed in you. You will not be hampered by any minute instructions from these headquarters. Your army is free to act as you deem appropriate under the circumstances as they arise. All forces within the sphere of your operations will be held subject to your orders. Lincoln's use of the law of empowerment was as consistent as Henry Ford's habit of breaking it. When his generals performed well, Lincoln gave them credit, and when they performed poorly, Lincoln took the blame. Lincoln expert Donald T. Phillips acknowledged, throughout the war, Lincoln continued to accept public responsibility for battles lost or opportunities missed. Lincoln was able to stand strongly during the war and continually give power to others because of his rock-solid security. Reading about a leader like Lincoln is inspiring, but it can also be intimidating because he was such a strong leader at such a difficult time. But you don't have to be a great leader to empower others. You just need to be willing. The main ingredient for empowering others is a high belief in people. If you believe in others, they will believe in themselves. Recently, I received a note from Mark Cole thanking me for my belief in him. In part, here's what he wrote. John, I'm writing this to you because 20-plus years ago, you and the team at Enjoy took a chance on a young man who was broken by leadership failures. You all took me in, gave me a role that played to my strengths, and trusted me more and more to expand my leadership, even though I had sworn that I will never lead again. That led me to a bigger role with more responsibility, which led me to another role with even greater responsibility. I learned to channel my passions into my strengths time and time again, using each new opportunity from you as a chance to become better. As a result, I went from selling event tickets out of a converted broom closet to becoming the owner, CEO, and president of the John Maxwell Enterprise. How was I able to grow along that journey? You took the time to invest in me and empower me. For 20 years now, I've been privileged to study at your side. You've poured into me, mentored me, coached me, challenged me, and given me the space and freedom to make mistakes. You challenged me to grow in areas where I was very uncomfortable. Stephanie, Tori, Macy, and I are grateful every single day for your presence in our lives. Your legacy lives in me and in every coach, trainer, and leader you've ever empowered or developed to take the message of transformation to the world. We're proud to continue your good work, receive your baton, and run our own race as well as you've run yours. Thank you for knowing, going, and showing us the way. Mark. When I receive an encouragement note from someone close to me, I tuck it away and I save it. I cherish such things. I'm grateful to Mark for all that he has done for me, and I believe he has returned to me much more than I have given to him, and I've genuinely enjoyed the time I've spent helping him grow. The truth is that empowerment is powerful, not only for the person being developed, but also for the empowerer. Enlarging others makes you larger. Mark has made me better than I am, not just because he helped me achieve much more than I could have done on my own, but also because the whole process made me a better leader. That is the impact of the law of empowerment. It is an impact that you can experience as a leader as long as you are willing to believe in people and give your power away. When I teach the law of empowerment in conferences, I make sure that I give them a process, as I read to you in this last chapter, this process of I do it, you're with me, you do it, I'm with you, you do it, and then you do it, and someone else is with you. I make sure that I teach them the process, and here's why. In empowerment, we have to give people a step-by-step process to grow and mature in their empowerment. It's sequential and it's in stages. And at each stage, until I let you go and empower you completely, I'm with you. I can coach you. I can direct you. I can redirect you. I can tweak you when I want to. I'm beside you. That is so essential in empowering people. It's more than just delegating. It's more than just giving someone a job. It's teaching that person how to succeed at that job. The last thing I want to say is that with empowerment comes accountability. And I think many times that's a miss. I think people want to be free to do the job, but they don't want to come back and be accountable for the job that they did. So with your empowerment, teach a process so that people can, in stages, be empowered, but also, at the end, make them accountable. This will allow you and it will allow them to best serve the team that you're on.